You are tuned to ARP on the Accelerated Radio Network. It's 12 noon, and it's time to have lunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Lunch with the Finance Bunch. Bringing money talk you can understand. And now here's your host, Miss Charline.
Natalie, Neith, welcome to Lunch with the Finance Bunch.
Thanks so much, Charline. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, we were looking forward to this one. There's so many people who have aspired to be in real estate, and you and I have talked about this a lot. They see shows in the media, Tiny House, Love It or Listed, that HGTV show, and all of these shows come on and they talk about how easy it is to be a realtor. And I wanted to hear from a real realtor who is successful and find out what the steps are to becoming a successful realtor. So would you help us out with that today?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, so when a person decides they want to become a realtor, what are the steps they need to take? Because there's education involved, there's licensing and all that involved. What are the steps, like when you wake up one morning, you say, I want to be a realtor, and then you go out and do what?
Well, first of all, you have to take classes. You have to take your real estate principles and practices and pass that. Mm-hmm. And then you have to take a state exam. So there are different formats to take the classes. You can take it online. You can go to a junior college and take it. You can go to real estate schools. There are different ways to do it. And most of the information that you absorb and learn for those classes and to pass that real estate principles class and to pass your state exam is probably nothing you're ever going to use again.
Right.
Which is kind of crazy, but it's a discipline that you need to go through, and it will help you in the long run to prepare you for the on-the-job training that you're going to need.
Right. So do you have to take any college classes in addition to those classes?
Those classes can be taken in a college format, but you don't. It's not required that you have a college degree.
Okay. And then, like for instance, we have a lot of young people who are talking about getting into brokering and investing. Is that the same thing, or is that something different?
Well, if you want to invest, you don't necessarily have to have a broker's license or a real estate agent's license, and there's a difference there. Mm-hmm. You would either have an agent's license or you would have a broker's license. To be a broker, you have to have an agent's license. But if you're going to invest, basically you need money.
Right.
So there are people who get involved in it so that they can save the commission, because then they'll handle the transaction themselves if possible, and that might be one way to go. Okay.
So for you, getting in, I know you said that your first interest in real estate was the fact that you loved historical properties and you got into the architecture of it, the beauty of the older properties.
Yeah, really, I think if I go back a little bit, I think I've always had sort of an entrepreneurial spirit, but I've always been very interested in education. As I said, I started out as a teacher.
Right.
And when you're a teacher, basically teaching, I now realize, is sales. You are selling knowledge, you're selling education. And that translates very well. A lot of very successful realtors have been teachers, mm-hmm. because in sales or in real estate sales, you're educating the public. You're teaching them how to proceed, whether they're buying or selling. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of education involved, and I think it's really important to keep continuing your education. When you have your real estate license, you do have to do a certain amount of continuing education periodically, every few years. But I am a class junkie. I have, as I said, I have a master's degree. I had a double major and a double minor in undergraduate school, and then I went on to get my master's. And then once I got my real estate license, I keep taking classes. And even though I've been doing this almost 27 years, every week I go to a class that my company puts on. And that's an important factor for me, is that I work for a company that provides continual education, and you can always learn something.
Right. So what you're saying is that once you pass, the real estate exam, and once you become licensed, that's not where the education stops.
Exactly.
You are continually being educated, continually taking classes, and continually exposing yourself to new information.
Well, I am, and I think that's the ideal. I would
Well, we
not
want
say
to be
that's-
successful. We
Yeah.
want to be successful.
Yeah.
So, if you want to be a successful realtor, we know a lot of part-time realtors. We know a lot of people who do this as a hobby. But if the person is serious about it, and my listeners who are interested in, becoming realtors, I want to take them at their word that they want to be successful. So the discipline, the education, the amount of money that it costs to become a realtor, those are the things they're interested in, that step by step, how do I do this? So the education is first and foremost.
Right.
And classes cost money. It's not free. And getting your license is not free. You have to pay for your license. Do they do a background check, credit check, that kind of thing also?
I'm sure that there's some sort of background check that is done. I got my license so many years ago, I don't really remember. But, obviously, convicted felons might have a problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
However, in terms of the cost factor, it's not just paying for the education, but if you're going to start out selling real estate, you need to have a cushion, a financial cushion that can last you through at least 6 months. I know someone who took his classes, got his license last year, and then wanted to jump right in, but he didn't have enough money to pay for his national, state, and local board dues. You have to join those organizations, and you have to pay for the multiple listing service. So, that could add up to maybe $1,000 or so.
Right.
Plus, as I said, you need that cushion that will carry you through until you get business going. And a lot of people aren't aware of that.
Right. Now,
They're not
are there any
prepared.
insurances involved that you need?
You do have to pay if you work for a brokerage. Well, you should have errors and emissions insurance, and that's probably $1,500, between $1,500 and $2,000 a year. So that's an additional cost.
Wow. So,
All those costs, though, are costs of doing business. So
Right.
you could check with your tax person and see what's a tax deductible item.
right. So, in addition to the classes and the education, and how long do you think it takes, like, as far as education is concerned, from start to finish, like from when you start and say, I want to get my license, through actually taking the test? How long does that take approximately?
Well, there are, I think probably you could take a semester-long classes like at a junior college or something, or you could take a 6 weeks course with a real estate school. I actually, maybe I shouldn't tell this little secret, but I did what I call the quick and dirty route. I went to a real estate school. I took classes that were 2 weekends, all day long, for 2 weekends. And then I went back for a test prep workshop, which
Yeah.
was 1 day. After taking the 2 weekend courses, I passed the course.
Right.
I took a test to pass the course. Then I took the test prep workshop. I failed that test prep workshop, not miserably, but not where I was proud of myself. And so it put the fear of God into me, so I went home and studied. And then I passed the test the first time around. And the test, it's not rocket science, but, it's not easy either. And I know a lot of people who have failed it a number of times, but I also know people who have passed it that, frankly, I'm a little surprised that they passed it.
Tenacity.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in this journey, so ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to be redundant, but so you need to take courses that are real estate related, and you have to pass the real estate test, and then you apply for your license, and then that license takes about 6 weeks
Probably about 6 weeks to get
to
your
get your
license, yeah.
actual license.
And you also have to wait for your test date. So
Right.
so this is not even though you can take that quick and dirty course, you're still going to have to wait some amount of time.
Right. So this sounds like at least a 6-month journey.
I would say
It's not
probably
overnight.
easily that.
Easily that. And it could be longer depending on what classes you need to take, you
And
know,
how you choose to take them,
and
whether or not you pass.
and whether or not you pass. Exactly. And
Exactly.
then once you get your license, what do you say about real estate offices and choosing what company to go work for? Because that's another really big deal. I mean, I'm not going to try to sway anyone into going to any certain real estate office, but what would you say a person should look out for when they are trying to choose what real estate company, you know, to go work for? I know you've worked for several, so.
Well, I started out with a very small company that was based, really only had one office and was based in the area where I lived and where I have sold successfully for many years. And I was really impressed because he wanted to hire me. I thought, oh, wow. And then I realized that that's not anything to be impressed about, because brokers always want agents because the agents are going to make money for them.
Right.
Duh. I didn't figure that out till later. But I worked part-time starting out, and I was with that company for almost 5 years. But halfway through that, I realized that if I wanted to succeed at this business, I couldn't do it part-time. To be really successful, I had to focus on it and do it full-time. So halfway through, I did that. And then after about 5 years, I realized that I wanted to set my sights higher. So I moved to a big company in a little bit different area. And I've worked for probably 4 or 5 different companies, mostly big companies. What I seem to see is a lot of new agents who get their licenses and they go to work for what I call desk fee companies, where it's advertised as 100% commission. All you do is pay a fee to rent a desk in the office, and they think they're going to make a lot more money that way. Maybe they do. I think people who are successful and proven agents, productive agents, may make plenty of money in a situation like that. But brand new agents, in those offices, typically you have to pay. They nickel and dime you. You have to pay for every copy you make, or you pay for renting your desk. You have to pay for your phone. You have to pay for this. You have to pay for that. I don't want to deal with that.
Right.
I would rather work for an established company that will take a percentage of my commission, but they will provide me with education. They will provide me with marketing. They will provide me with technology. They will provide me with integrity and a good reputation.
Yes.
And so I have moved several times, and every time I've moved, I feel like it's been not just for my benefit, but the benefit of my clients.
Yes.
So my clients get better exposure to the market when it's a listing, and I have better access to tools to use for my buyers.
Wow. Yeah. So your advice would be to go to a reputable company once you're licensed, get licensed, and join a reputable company. And even though they may take a percentage of your commission, it's better. It works out.
That's my opinion.
Your opinion,
yes.
right? It may work out better for them. So look at both. Look at both seriously and see which one actually makes the most sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to go. And with a company like that, you're more likely to have someone that will be a mentor to you or a training director. I was actually a training director for a company I worked with some years ago. I don't think they call them training directors anymore. Now they're mentors. But and the company I'm with has a mentor program. I particularly like. Even though I've worked for some big national companies, I work for a company now that's very well respected, and in my opinion, there's something to be said for working for a company where I know the person whose name is on the door.
Yes.
So I know the owner, the managing partner, the vice president, and all the hierarchy in my company. I can go to them and say, oh, this is my situation. Can you give me some answers or some help on that? And I also have a fabulous manager. So that's important to me. Even though I've gone to an office for a number of years that was not in an extremely convenient location for me, I stayed there because the manager was fabulous.
Right. So is there administrative support there? and that type of thing in the office to help also?
Yes, typically a big company like that will have an office administrator and they may have a separate transaction coordinator. Typically today, when I started in the business, we did everything with our own files. We put together all the paperwork. And when you finish a real estate transaction, you have a stack of paperwork.
Yes.
That's maybe an inch or two thick.
That's right.
Although we're trying to go more paperless, and now when we finish a transaction, we give a CD to our clients. But
excuse me.
The company I work for has an office administrator. I have a transaction coordinator on my team that handles paperwork for me because, as I said, much of what we do is digital now. We have a graphic designer that works with us. And so this is fabulous for me because I can go to her and say, I'd like to send out a mailer that has this, this, and this. And I get that, within a day or two. And that's fabulous. And that doesn't cost me anything. And then I just either pay for the in-house marketing company to print it or an outside printing company.
Wow. Okay. So there are advantages of being with a larger, more reputable company.
Absolutely.
And just paying whatever portion of the, commission that they require.
It's worth it for me. Yes.
Yeah. So do your homework is basically what you're saying.
Totally.